A thriller in Vegas. USC caps off a 2-minute drive to remember. Woody Marks in for the touchdown, the game winner. His name is Woody because he loves Woody from Toy Story. How cute is that?
That makes sense.
So cute. So cute.
Also makes you feel old.
It does. You know they're coming out with a Toy Story 5, by the way, which I don't think they need to, but in this day and age, you know what we're doing? We're always having sequels and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Well, I'll tell you what, in terms of the number 5, that's 5 straight season opening losses for LSU. They fall 27-20. How about Miller Moss? How about him, Hakeem? Yeah, that's what I said. Look at the numbers. He was incredible. 27 of 36, 378, 1 touchdown. He leads. I mean, that was a clinic.
Yeah.
The 2-minute drive, 8 plays, 75 yards. You think they're lining up for a field goal? Nope. Woody Marks runs it in, and USC 1-0. Back here with 2-time Super Bowl champ Bryant McFadden, BMAC. That was an absolute clinic by Miller Moss, 2-minute drill, and he executed to perfection right there. What'd you see?
A guy that was extremely cool in the moment. The sense of urgency was there, but he never panicked. And the same can be said for Lincoln Riley and how he was calling plays, how they utilized the clock, knowing they only had 1 timeout at their disposal, and they just worked the length of the football field. A costly penalty that gave them great field position that we felt like would allow them to have a game-winning field goal. But to Hakeem's point, Woody said, no, 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 I want to be the hero. I want to seal the deal for us. Huge run by him to get into the win, to get into the end zone to provide a win. I mean, this was probably one of the best wins for Lincoln Riley while coaching the Trojans.
Yeah, this was impressive on a neutral site in Vegas, a top 25 matchup. But what set that up was on 2nd and 15 was the throw to Kyron Hudson and a pickup of 20 yards, and they also get targeting called, so that moves the ball up even further. And you're thinking, okay, they're going to kick the field goal, and they say, no, we're running it in. But that was a critical play in that drive to get him close now down near the goal line.
Yeah, because it was, I think it was a legal procedure penalty that backed them up 5 yards. So instead of it being 2nd and 10, it was 2nd and 15.
Yep.
And you look at where they were on the football field, not ideal position to try to make a field goal. And when you look at the spot of the football, if I'm not mistaken, it looked like LSU were playing a shell-type coverage, and Miller Moss found the sweet spot and dropped it in a spot where only his pass catcher could come in with the reception, and it was basically a one-hand reception. And then if you add on the penalty, the targeting penalty, I mean, that was great. That was a game-changing moment for SC, because when you look at where they were at the football field, knowing that it's 2nd and 15, the time is against you, and you only had 1 timeout, you needed something to happen dramatically for you to be able to get in a prime position to win that ball game. The reception, the throw was on point, and then when you add the penalty, that was icing on the cake.
Fewest points allowed since week 2 of last season for USC. And that was a point of contention, right? And that was a point of focus. They fired Alex Grinch 2 games ago in the regular season. They bring in the Missouri defensive coordinator, they bring in the UCLA defensive coordinator, Danton Lynn. And you talk about how about the defense standing up for USC. It did just that. You get an interception to end the game.
Listen, this defensive performance is something the Trojan fans been waiting to see since Lincoln Riley became their head coach. That has been an issue, a major concern for them. And kudos to their staff putting together a well-planned game plan. Kudos to the players for executing that game plan, and just the toughness and the tenacity in which they played with. And I got to give a special shout out to Jalen Smith. Number 2. For SC, plays the cornerback position. He's their best outside corner. When I tell you, he put on a tackling clinic for cornerbacks, for defensive backs, tackling guys who were bigger than him, and he didn't bow down. He didn't hesitate. He saw the target point. He committed to the target point, and he got those ball carriers down. And that was the same mentality that we saw from SC throughout their entire defensive unit. I was watching the game with Hakeem, like, great tackle. Great tackle. These guys were getting to the point of the ball carrier, and they were getting them down. And if the first guy didn't get him down, the swarming of the other players made sure they got that player down. So when you look at what Jalen Smith did and the entire defense compared to what we've seen in years past from SC, What was the number they allowed a year ago? 30 points or so on the defense? And they're playing against a real good offensive team. I think Garrett Musmeyer will be an NFL prospect.
Okay.
You look at Kyron Lacey. You look at the offensive lineman, the prospects, the offensive lineman that LSU has, and USC didn't blink at all. At all.
Yeah, they allowed 34 points per game. That was the most in a season in USC history. So that's why they made the change to Danton Lynn, and they shored up. The one other big storyline coming out of this, we saw Kyron Lacey. They used him a ton on the first drive. He had 7 catches for 94 yards and the touchdown. He didn't get nothing in the second half.
Yeah.
Nothing. How was USC able to take him away? Because we talked pregame, and you said this could be a star for LSU in this game and down the season as we head into the rest of the season.
Either two things happen. Either SC devoted extra attention to Kyron Lacey, in which I don't think was the case. I could be wrong. Or LSU just kind of forgot about the success he had in the first half. The thing that if you go back and watch the game or just go back to think about how LSU started the ball game, Hakeem, we saw rhythm-like throws for Garrett. We saw rhythm-like throws, and what I mean by when I say rhythm-like throws, instant 5-yard hitches, comebacks, quick slants, rhythm, getting into a rhythm. And remember how efficient that allowed Garrett to be along with the relationship that he was establishing with Kyron Lacey. We felt like this was going to be a double-digit reception type game, almost 200-yard type game, multi-touchdown type game for Kyron Lacey because it was moving him around the football field, and he was a part of rhythm-like plays. And then in the second half, they just kind of detoured from that.
Yeah.
Like, if it was working for you in the first half, they got to show you something different for that to not work in the second half. Or you just move him around. So to your point, I don't know, but I think those are the two things. When you talk about either extra attention to Kyron or LSU just decided to kind of efface him out the game plan and just kind of go other areas on your offense, which wasn't the smartest thing to do.
Yeah, something to figure out moving forward for LSU. And for LSU, they've now lost 5 straight season openers, 3 in a row with Brian Kelly. And look, when you talk about this team, they still won 10 games last season. I get it. They had Jaden Daniels, they had Malik Neighbors, they had Brian Thomas Jr. They had a fantastic team. When you look at Brian Kelly has now and Garrett Nussmeier, and you see Kyron Lacey, and they've got an improved defense as well.
Yeah.
What is your outlook for them rest of way?
They're going to be fine.
Okay.
They're going to be fine. You don't want to lose, right, especially week 1. But losing to a non-SEC opponent still allows you to achieve everything you wanted to achieve before the start of the season.
Well, now they're a Big Ten opponent.
Yeah, Big Ten. But they're not in the SEC.
No.
I mean, the last 2 seasons we've seen LSU lose the first game, and it was to a non-SEC opponent.
Correct.
So they still have an opportunity to achieve everything that they would like to achieve in the SEC, so they're going to be fine. The concern was, Garrett, can he give you the spark that he provided in the bowl game? Oh, he can. Secondly, who is going to be the new alpha dog at the wide receiver position? We saw that in the half of play. Even though we didn't transition to the second half, Kyron Lacey is going to be that guy. Can they control the line of scrimmage? We saw that as well. Can they run the football, have a better running game with their running backs? We saw glimpses of that as well. And yes, they lost. They allowed 27 points, that game-winning touchdown at the end of the game. But their defense, Hakeem, their defense performed better than what we saw last year from LSU's defense as well. So to your point, or to your question, how will the rest of their season, look? They're going to be okay. They like I said, Garrett is an NFL prospect at the quarterback position. I think he will continue to get better. And some of the miscues that we saw in tonight's matchup, you better believe they won't have those miscues going throughout the schedule.
Yeah, defensively, they hired Mizzou defensive coordinator Blake Baker. We saw an improved defense from LSU, and they'll get back in the win column. Because, look, if you're telling me last season you lose the season opener and then you're going to win 10 games, you're going to take that if you're a Tigers fan. For USC, they lost 5 of their final 6 regular season games last year. Caleb Williams was extremely disappointed. He goes #1 overall. Miller Moss starts the bowl game, right? He throws 6 touchdowns in that game. He's the MVP. What is he going to do in his first full season as a starter? Well, BMAC, I mean, you want to talk about setting the tone in week 1? This is setting the tone for the Trojans with Miller Moss under center.
And I'll tell you this much, when you look at their schedule, I'm glad the schedule is right there on the graphic. They have an opportunity to cause the most chaos in the top 25. right? Because they're playing 2 top 25 teams in the month of September.
Yep.
They got Utah State coming up next week, and then after that, they travel to Ann Arbor, a top 10 team. And seeing what they did tonight against LSU, who was top 13, if I'm not mistaken, USC could cause a lot of chaos. And they have a quarterback that they trust, Lincoln Riley, that he trusts. And I don't know what his odds were before tonight's matchup when you look at the Heisman, but you might want to start paying some attention to Miller Moss when it comes to a Heisman candidate, because this offense will continue to get better. He will continue to establish a relationship with his pass catchers, and they're going to win ball games. And one thing we know about Lincoln Riley, if he just has a serviceable guy at the quarterback position, he can make sweet tea. But if he got a gunslinger,
he's developed 3 Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks.
That's what I'm saying.
So
but if
he knows what he's doing.
If he has a guy who's more than a serviceable guy, it's not just sweet tea he's going to make. He's also going to add some, what you like, coffee?
I like sweet tea.
You like sweet tea?
Oh, I like lemonade. Yeah. I like a little Arnold Palmer.
He's going to add some lemonade and sweet tea together. Yeah. And that's what he has right now with Miller Moss, because we saw it in the bowl game. We were like, oh, maybe.
It's a bowl game.
Bowl game.
You're right.
But what we saw tonight against a pretty good LSU team, I think Miller Moss might have his name in that conversation in weeks to come when it comes to the Heisman.
Well, USC 2-0 in games started by Miller Moss, off to a 1-0 start so far, executing a 2-minute drill to perfection as they win in Vegas, beating LSU 27-20. And for LSU, well, it's their 5th straight season opening loss. A couple of losses to Florida State. They were dramatic. And this one also with some drama in the end as they fall 27-20. But LSU looking to bounce back. They lost last year. They ended up winning 10 games. But a heck of a game from both sides. And in the end, it is USC who is victorious. Fight on, their 8th straight season opening win. Coming up, much more ahead from Vegas. We'll hear from the head coaches and the star players here on CBS Sports HQ. Our post-game coverage is just getting started. Keep it locked.